Hi, I'm Leanne Patton with The Whole 9 Yards. This time of year, I have a lot of people to ask, can you please teach me how to tie a bow? I want to make my Christmas tree look pretty, and I want to be able to tie a bow that looks like a nice decorative bow, but they don't know how. So today, that's what I'm going to teach you. I chose this particular ribbon because it has a front side and a back side. So you can see when I make my turns, what's on the front and what's on the back. Normally, I wouldn't necessarily use this bright color tie for this because I want it to blend in with the ribbon, but I want you to be able to see what I'm doing with this. You want to start out with the tail. When you tie this bow, you're going to be doing it kind of backwards. The first loop that you make is going to determine the size of your bow. So you're going to start with the bottom loop and then work your way up to the smallest loop. So what I'm going to do right now is, this is how long I want the tail of the ribbon the tail of the bow to be. So I'm going to start right about here. This is really, really simple. There's a couple of things to remember. You start out and you pinch the ribbon, okay? And then you give it a twist. The reason you're going to twist this is so the front side of this ribbon will stay on the front. If you don't twist it, you're going to wind up with a ribbon that you're going to see the back side, okay? So here's the tail. Here's my first pinch. And then I'm going to make my loop. Again, this loop is going to determine the size of my bow. This is about, when this is doubled, that's about the size I want. So I'm going to pinch this together and twist. Then I'm making another loop. Now, this is just a little trick I use. I take both loops and hold them together so I make both sides the same length. Before I pinch and twist, I just make sure my sizes are the same. You don't really have to do this with every one, just the bottom. Okay, that's the size I want my loop. So I'm going to pinch and twist. Okay, that's the bottom loop. Now, as you go forward, you're going to get smaller with your loops. See, this one's a little smaller than the one I did before. Pinch and twist. And then, same thing with this side. And really, when you go from side to side after you make this first loop, you can just visually tell that you're getting smaller by measuring it up against this bottom loop. I'm getting a little bit smaller with each loop. Pinch and twist. So you just continue along from side to side and get smaller each time. Pinch and twist. Same thing with this side. Pinch and twist. I don't usually cut my ribbon before I start tying because you waste a lot of ribbon that way. I just work right off the spool. And again, loop, pinch, and twist. If you can remember that, you can tie a bow. Okay, I have 4 loops on each side. You can use 4, you can use 3, you can use 5, just depends on what you want. Sometimes I make it odd and do 5 on this side and 4 on this side, but I usually use 4 to 5 loops because I like for my bows to look full and fluffy. If I'm down to just a little bit of ribbon on the bottom of the spool and I need to just tie in the color on the tree, I might use 3 loops. But for the most part, I use 4 to 5. This one I want nice and full, so I'm going to use 5. Okay, now that's all the loops that I'm going to make, but the last one, this is all the loops I'm going to make on either side, but the last one in the middle, you're going to do it kind of backwards to what you've been doing. We've been working from side to side here. This loop, we're going to loop it, but we're going to pull this back to yourself. Instead of the way we've been working like this and then going from side to side, you want it to round, you want it to be a round loop, and pull this ribbon back to yourself. And then you do pinch it and you still twist it. And see, that gives you your finish on the top. Don't worry, because we're going to fluff it up. Right now it looks a little odd because it's just stacked, but we're going to fluff it in just a minute. Okay, now you want to take your tie. I use this to show you so you can see it on film. Normally I would use something that doesn't really show up, like maybe floral wire that's just not colored, or one of these that blends in with your ribbon. But I like for my wire to be a little bit longer than these are. So you just go through the hole, come around to the back, and this is where it's a little tricky because you have a lot to hold on to. You just hold on to it and twist this closed. So you just want this to be really tight because you don't want your ribbon to loosen up and fall out. Just twist that several times and you're good with that. Okay, now we're going to clip the end, and I like for one side to be just a little bit longer than the other. Now you're going to fluff it up. I hold on to each loop, just pull them apart, and I try to pull opposite. See, every other one I'm pulling the opposite way, and then do the same thing on this side. Then you can fluff up each loop. I love ribbon with the wire in it because it's very easy to make your loops look fluffy. Even from year to year, some of the other ribbon, the older type ribbon that doesn't have the wire, like the red velvet that you see, they don't hold up very well year to year. These hold up a lot better because you've got the wire you can shape to make your loops look fluffy. Okay, now we're fluffed up and it's a beautiful bow. I'm going to show you one more little trick. On the ends, there's a couple of different ways you can trim this. You can trim it on a diagonal, which is what I do a lot of times. But if you want it to have the pretty little V shape in the ribbon, you just fold both sides together, just like that. Take your scissors and trim up at an angle. And we're going to do the other side the same way. Now, you can pull both of the little loops down to the bottom, and you're ready for your tree. Some of these ribbons can be kind of expensive, but here's a little trick. You can use this decorative ribbon that's more expensive and layer it with less expensive ribbons. Okay, There's a couple of different ways that you can do this. I'm going to start out with these on the bottom. These are going to be my bottom layer, and I'm going to do several loops with the less expensive ribbon, and then I'm going to do several loops on top with the more expensive ribbon. Now, you can hold these together at the same time and work that way, or you can start with just one and tie several loops with that and then add this one on top. That will be the same step as when you add this ribbon on the top. So I'm going to show you holding both of these together, and I'm going to tie them both at the same time. So I hold it here and pinch and twist. So this will remain on the top. My bottom loop is always going to be the largest loop that determines the size of my ribbon. This way is just a little bit different because you have two ribbons to hold on to, but I like the way it looks layered. Now normally when we end the bow, we end with a loop on top. We're not doing that yet because we still have another layer. So right now, I'm just going to trim these and get them out of my way. Now, I want this one to have a streamer too, just because I like the look of it. And I pinch and twist to start out just like we started out from the beginning. And then loop. I'm still getting smaller with my loop every time. That gives your bow the curve that you want. Now I'm going to do 3 loops with this decorative ribbon. You can do 3 on each side, or you can do 2 on each side with the loop in the middle, or you can do 3 more on one side, 2 on one side, just depending on how much ribbon you have and how far this ribbon needs to go. Because if you only have a small amount of your decorative ribbon, you might only want to do 2 loops and then end it. Now, you have a bow that looks like every ribbon on it is very expensive, but really, you've paid big bucks for a little one and $7 a roll at Costco for the others. For more design tips and tutorials, be sure and subscribe to this channel. You can also follow us on one of our other social media outlets so you won't miss a thing.